Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is C Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 86 of Beer the Podcast Adjunct series. We are back again. I have a very special friend of mine joining me this evening. You might remember her. I actually thought it was at least a year ago, but because time is a fucking warp right now, it was actually in the early parts of 2021. But so much has changed. I'm so proud of her. I'm looking forward to getting the story. Please welcome Christina from XhAle Brewing. Wrong screen. There we are. Wait. There it is. How you doing, man?
Yeah, it's been a week in beer.
Isn't it always?
But no, I'm doing well. Yeah,
good.
Can't complain.
Has it started to? I don't want to be the old man sort of shit, but you're in Calgary, Alberta. Mm-hmm. How bad is it there right now? Because you guys, like, even for us out here, I look at your weather, I'm like, oh, that's bad.
Yeah, it was a blizzard. I was actually supposed to be on another podcast this evening. I was doing back-to-back podcasts.
Ooh, okay.
But I actually had to cancel because I got stuck in a blizzard. So yeah, it's about -17 right now.
Okay.
Coming in sideways.
Jesus, we are +11.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Oh, it's not nice. I'm not rubbing it in. It's just funny, two Aussies who aren't used to any of this stuff trying to balance out the weather thing. I think it's just, we might just have it a warm spell. So trust me, we were already at -17 like last week. So
yeah. I'm hoping it gets a little warmer. I've gone back to ski coaching this year, so Sundays I'm out at Norquay on skis, and yeah, it can get pretty cold. So I'm hoping it warms up by the weekend at least.
I can imagine that wouldn't be super pleasant when it doesn't have to be like isn't there like a perfect temperature for skiing? Excuse my ignorance.
Nah,
or not really.
Shredding is shredding.
Yeah.
It's how long you think your feet can withstand it.
Okay, so all right, so the people with the coldest blood are good to go. All right, fuck, man. I've never done that before. I'm not into that, but I'm glad it's not me. Well, I want to start with the beer. I'm going to start with one of your fantastic beers. It's one of the greatest beer names. See you next Tuesday. Your dry hopped Cölsch, made for Australia Day for the most part, but I guess it's year round now, eh?
It is. It's year-round. It was only going to be a one-off beer, and it has proven to be my top seller, and people are loving it because it's not a lot of people are making Kölsches. And then I did late edition Topaz on this as the hop, nice. And then a dry hop at like 2 grams per litre with the Galaxy. And the way in which the Galaxy presents with that like white creamy floralness and the melon, and then as it warms you get a little bit of that pineapple that rolls through. Oof. But you still have the grassiness that is there because they're both noble hop derivatives.
Right.
It's been my best seller. Just about to go into 50-litre kegs with it.
Amazing.
So
this is, I mean, I've only had a couple beers from you, but this has definitely been my fave, so I was looking forward to this. Now we did a bit of a trade this episode. Oof. So you are rocking the BAOS and Nickel Brook Green Apple Lager. It does, on paper, sound a little bonkers. It has some green apple puree. It has, I think it's nutmeg, cinnamon, allspice, and lactose. But it's very, very mellow. It's really not the scary, crazy shit that it seems. And Nickel Brook, are you familiar with Nickel Brook at all?
I am, yeah. We've had it out in Alberta for quite a while.
Okay, good. So they're like OGs, and they're a big deal for us. To do this collab with them was huge when I was like 2011, 2010, when I really started the beer journey. I was drinking their green apple Pilsner, and this was a new version of that. It was actually supposed to be a smoothie, but changed to that. Cheers, man. Good to see you.
Cheers. Yeah, you too, mate.
Man, this is delicious. Such a great note. As soon as you crack the can, it's just like, boom. Everything you described. Melon, pineapple, floral.
Yeah.
Oh. I love it. And you don't really see dry hop Kölsches, which is even, which is cooler.
Yeah, taking, I think the thing that XhAle does really well is taking old world styles and giving them new world twists. and making sure that they're super balanced, and also making sure that what's on the inside of the can is just as noteworthy and conversation worthy as what's on the outside of the can.
I love that. I love it. I guess I didn't really show the can off enough, but you got the old green and gold, the old stray up there, which is a beautiful thing. You got the sort of provocative name that we won't go into too much detail about, but it's hilarious. And if anyone knows anything about Australian culture, you will, you know the vibes. And I guess you got like the cool write-up. You've got like a full, breakdown of the beer and the meaning behind it, as you were saying. Actually, no, it's this side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the ongoing, so all the core beer that XhAle will do will always have an ongoing community give back portion to it.
Mm-hmm.
So ongoing partial proceeds go back to the Kangaroos Football Club here, and they have a non-for-profit for their youth program. So I actually help sponsor families with sporting opportunities who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford it, because the program doesn't turn anyone away.
Right.
So so that's part of the ethos of XhAle is having that big community service piece to it, and and the name, of course, is extremely Australian and cheeky. I find that a lot of us Canadians want to say that word, but don't. And I'm like, I give you permission. But one of the things, we've had a couple of people ask us, why would you use that? It's so derogatory. And you and I, I'm preaching to the choir here. We actually use it quite affectionately in Australia. Yeah. We've taken the power away from that word. And one of the things it's been used in North America as a derogatory term around women. And I find when you take that power back, it now no longer has that effect. So that's part of what we're trying to do as well is, let's reframe the perspective of this, because we shouldn't be so offended. We're not offended with words around male genitalia, so why are we offended around as much? They're used so much widely, so why are we so offended with the female anatomy?
I guess you could align that with, like you can show a male nipple on the internet, but you cannot show a female nipple. It becomes porn. So, I mean, it's the same logic, perhaps.
Yeah. I've had a number of Instagram posts taken down recently,
which is crazy.
It's once again, like I'm not ashamed of my areola, and why does mine have to be so sexualized in this patriarchal structure and standard?
Facts. It's pretty ridiculous. So, and I guess that's a great alignment. I guess I never really thought about it in that way, because I don't use the C-bomb in that way. It's just never, no one I know would use it. It just sounds kind of gross when you're using it, if you're thinking of it for a genitalia thing. But like culturally, if anyone's familiar with either Australian for us, but British culture used it in the same way. Like it's more of a term of aggression, I would say. You'd say it to someone that over here that they'd be more familiar with, but we would say it to each other, like you said, very affectionately. And it's it's just a funny thing when I'm around other Aussies. Like it's probably going to be hard for both of us not to say it tonight. Luckily, it's pre-recorded, so we can fix it if we do. Let's have to write down the time. But yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing. I love you pushing the boundaries of it. This is the first time I had it would have been back in Feb. I checked. It was episode 44 of this Adjunct series. So if anyone wants to check out your full story, because we probably won't go into that this episode, since it's a follow-up, we're going to be talking about other things. But if people want to get the full origin, check out that app where we had this one in your first beer, Impeachment. We're going to touch, since we spoke last, you've done 4 new beers on top of that with a total of 6. Is that accurate? Mm-hmm. And that, would you and we'll talk about each one as we go through. I got almost all of them tonight. Would you, that's a significant number for a brewery that's currently, starting off contracting, which is, arguably the most common way to do it and one of the most intelligent ways to start a capital-heavy business like craft beer.
Mm-hmm. For beer, we've had and ongoing in the back of that, we've turned See Next Tuesday into a full-time stew, or a full-time beer that was always supposed to be a one-off, but because it's been so popular and it's the biggest seller, we couldn't take it off the shelves. For beer, so the Saison series was the next one to come. I actually won an Alberta Beverage Award for that in the Farmhouse Ales, and
That's
alongside some ripper beers from Trial and Ale, who are doing some really cool experimental mixed fermentation stuff. And also Annex Ales was in that category as well. And they're a well-established, very cool, amazing humans in that place. So to be, and they were all bottle editions as well. So to be put in that category with, they weren't raging against white goods with the dry hopped Belgian Saison using Bar Rouge. That was we're going to wear that as a pin. And a feather in our cap on that
awesome.
one. And after that, so it was part 1 to the Saison series, and then part 2 is the raspberry cherry version of that. So same dry hop. Actually, we changed a couple of things up, but still use the Bar Rouge on that.
Base was the same?
Base was pretty much the same. Yep, just mixed up a couple little things with the grains and the grist makeup. And yeah, then added raspberry and cherries on day 4 of fermentation, which bodes just so well with that diastatic Belgian yeast with that bubblegum, and then the Belgian that has those berries and lemon balm notes that you get through on it as well. That raspberry cherry is probably one of my favorite beer so far. I love Saisons. Every year we're going to do a Saison series. Unfortunately, Saisons don't seem to be so cool in Alberta. So I did actually put out a hat that says "Make Saisons Cool Again," totally riffing on the whole
the old Trump thing.
Yeah, it seems to be a theme, making fun of him.
You got to.
Yeah, so we're trying to make Saisons cool again and bring them in. And so we've got the Saison series set for 2022, and that's really exciting. Super excited for that one. And then the other one we put out was the Arnie Reen's Plum Pudding Porter. So that was a porter at its base, used vanilla, graham crackers, cinnamon, and treacle. And then added a bunch of 500 pounds of organic plums. Dang. So we have some. We're going to probably re-release that next year with some changes, because the base porter itself was fucking magnificent.
Did you ever drop the base?
I actually was standing there with one of the brewers, and we had the base before we put the plums in it, and we're both looking at each other like,
"Oh, should we just do it?
Should we put plums in it, or do we not put plums in it?" Because that beer was amazing, and I was like, "I've got 500 pounds of plums. Like, I'm not going to put." And it's listed. I list all the ingredients on the back of the can. And it was already listed. I was like, you know what, the beer is already good. It does have lactose in it as well, so it does balance out that acidity. I do have to send you a can with the new 2022 calendar too, so remind me to do that.
I will. That sounds amazing. Are you going to drop the base of the porter? Sorry to cut you off. Are you going to drop that porter because it's like a classic style? I feel like it's porters are amazing.
The base porter, because I put the graham crackers, so it had
already.
What was it, 280 pounds of graham crackers in the grist.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, it was a 25 hectoliter brew.
Okay.
So and then one of the other things that was used in that brew, which was really cool, was the red shed malt. We used the black bear and actually did wort staining technique on it. So instead of we used chocolate malt in the actual mash, and then during sparge put the black bear on top, so you're not pulling that acidity or that acridness that you pull from that. So it just this porter, and then it had the vanilla, and it had the cinnamon, and then it had the treacle, and it was just like that. It was delightful, and used an SO4 on it, so that yeast is that English yeast that throws off those beautiful esters anyway, and had a high melanoidin content of the grains that was used too. So it already had this fruity, like raisiny aspect to it.
Nice.
So I think that will be the Christmas release for next year.
And this, what was this one for? Was it a Christmas one?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's in honor of my Auntie Reen, who passed away last year at the grand old age of 96,
Wow.
and she would always make plum pudding for the family for Christmas. And actually, the week before she passed away of breast cancer, she was baking for the family.
Wow.
And yeah, tough old biddy. I come from I come from some pretty gnarly stock, I can tell you. Um, so yeah, so partial proceeds of that beer is actually going to be donated to the Alberta Cancer Foundation to their breast cancer campaign in her honor.
That's awesome, man. I love it. That's great. At least you got that, a nice little one is a great cause, but two, it's a nice switch up from, you had the peach ale, the dry hop Cölsch, the two saisons, and then coming in with like a dessert sort of sweet porter.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And there was one more, yeah?
No, that's yeah.
Oh,
so
the
that's,
coffee one.
Yeah. Oh, the mates for life, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Forgetting them now. There's so many.
all my babies. So yeah, so the Mates for Life was a very cool collab that actually broke some glass ceilings in the harm reduction space, specifically within the suicide prevention space. So we negotiated a partnership contract with Centre for Suicide Prevention to do this beer. It's called Mates for Life, and it's in conjunction with the Buddy Up campaign, which is a campaign by the Centre for Suicide Prevention here in Calgary that aims at reducing the male suicide rate from 3 to 1 currently. So we got the lease to use the imagery and work with their verbiage and their team to put out this beer, to have those conversations in those spaces. But traditionally, those collaborations have been not allowed and have been stigmatized because of the stigmatization of substance use while which has been in people's systems when they've suicided. So there's always been this stigmatization. However, 58% of my audience are males. And why aren't we having the conversations within those spaces as a form of harm reduction? With the messaging and with the resources attached. Often those conversations that will be vulnerable and compassionate between mates will happen over a beer. So let's put that message on a can.
Love it. That's awesome, man. I guess like this giving back is an important thing. It seems like there's a bit of a consistency throughout a lot of the beers that you're doing, and that's why is that important to you to contribute back to the community?
I think it's part of corporate responsibility. That corporations traditionally are, and I'm a for-profit. Not that I pay myself yet. But I think that's part of our responsibility as corporations, and those of us who are in privileged positions, who have a platform and have a voice to be able to use that in those spaces. So doing Mates for Life, which is there's still some actually left, which is a coffee British golden ale. So it's a golden ale at its base, which is actually my brewing partner Paul Heslop. It's his golden ale base. He's actually British, and then we bought coffee from Dingo Roasters over here, which is another Australian in town that has a coffee roaster. I should actually get some coffee and send it out to you as well.
Huge. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
So we did our own blend, and they roasted up a bunch of coffee for us, and then did a cold infusion post fermentation cold side on that. Yeah. Is it?
I guess I'll discover it soon enough. Is it like super coffee heavy, or is kind of more like a subtle?
It's subtle. I often ask people to close their eyes when they drink it. Because the color sometimes throws you off because it doesn't pour dark. And most people, when they think about coffee beers, is that it's coffee forward, and everything that we do as the complexity is in the balance and the subtlety. So we didn't want to take, it's always the style that comes first, right? Gotcha. It's not the adjunct that comes first for us.
That's smart. Particularly in a style like a golden ale that's lighter, and like if you go, it's like you got to be a little more delicate handed with it. If you go too hard, it just might not work. It'll dominate. It'll be bitter. Some crazy shit like that. So I'm curious. I haven't had that many like the lighter kind of beers with coffee in it, aside from maybe white stouts, which are basically blonde ales with coffee anyway. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, and I also think it's interesting. I don't know if you did this on purpose, but when I first... Have you been back? Obviously, the last 2 years aside. Did you go home a lot since you've been in Canada?
Yeah, I used to go back once a year.
Once a year, okay. So when I first went back, it was interesting. I'd been away 6 years at the time. And I was looking at the Aussie beer scene after being away and not really being into it before I left. And I noticed that some of the most... I mean, this is 2016. Golden ales were one of the most popular. So there was something called like a summer ale, which is, I don't even know what it was, more like a dry hop blonde or something type of thing. And they had gold, like James Squire and all that type of shit. And then they had the golden ales were super popular, and pale ales. That's what people were all about. This is predating haze and all the other crazy shit. And I just always, whenever I think of golden ales, I very much strongly associate that with Australia. Was that intentional, or was that just kind of like, it was more supposed to be the British thing?
No, it was kind of the melding. There's a cute little fun story behind it as well from a personal perspective. So during 2020, Hez is a solo human, and from the British part of our colony,
Yes.
and then myself, and we happened to just by chance run into each other during 2020, and we only kind of like would see each other around it at beer things. And he's super involved in the Yeast Wranglers here, which is the local home brewing crew. And we'd met years prior when I was working at a bar that was a beer centric bar downtown Calgary. And anyway, so he actually just was like, when are we going to brew together? We keep saying we're going to do it. And I was like, fuck it, let's like do it in a month. I've like got my calendar out, we booked it in, and we spent the day brewing together. I mean, it was a shit show because we started doing brewers breakfasts, I think at 12 o'clock. And I don't know if you've ever had a brewers breakfast before, but that's the first runnings of the wort, and then you drink that with whiskey. And then we were also pouring our way. It's so good. It's so good. It's delicious. But Hez is also really amazing at brewing imperial stouts. And so we were pouring ourselves. We broke a hydrometer, and I dropped all the cards out of my thing and dropped my phone in the Sani. And they were like, by the end of it, we like put everything together, and Hez turns around to me and goes, "Did we put the yeast in?" And like that's an ongoing joke now. But anyway, for the rest of 2020, we were each other's COVID buddies.
Okay.
So each other's COVID cohorts. And we actually literally saved each other's lives. Like, he was going through a super rough time at the time, and going through a place of personal impasse, and we kind of just ran into each other at the perfect time. And that's where the Mates for Life comes from, that's Hez's and our personal little, friendship story.
That's great, man. So is he... Oh, that was kind of what I wanted to get into. And you might have touched on this in the last one, but he does the main, like, where you contract out of. Does he actually make the beer, or he designs the recipes with you and stuff? Like, I know you're obviously capable of that, but, like, how does that sort of work?
Yeah, so Hez is a really great homebrew setup that he's, like, dialed in over the last decade.
Okay.
So what happens is I come up with a dumb idea, and and I put together, we do all our original recipe formulation. So I'll go into like Beersmith and do all the recipe formulation in Beersmith. And then we sit there and debate with each other, and he rolls his eyes at me when I have dumb idea, and I'm like, just trust me on a couple of things. just trust me on how this is going to work. And then at the end he's like, oh shit, okay, yeah, that did work.
Gotta listen.
We have very we have unique skill sets that go very well together, and we bounce ideas off each other really well. And yeah, he definitely does eye roll certain times because he's very much been a traditional brewer, with the BJCP guidelines, and I don't like rules. Most people who know me know that I don't like rules. So I don't often stick to a lot of rules, but using some scientific deduction and hypothesis, have been able to come up with some really cool, unique beer.
Okay, that's dope. So everything is brewed on a home brew and tested out first before you take it to scale. Okay.
Yeah, always. And then, I hand scale everything with some unique kind of spreadsheets and formulas and stuff, that can be, depending on what happens on brew day, stuff that can be manipulated in the moment to make sure that the outcome is the outcome that we want.
Okay, and the brewery where you actually contract out of, does your friend get to, actually, does he work there, or is it by them, like that team, obviously? The rules might be the same in Alberta, where you have to work there to touch the stuff, essentially?
No, that's not a rule here.
So you can personally brew your stuff?
Oh, sort of ish.
Okay.
Not really.
Okay.
But I like to be there mostly. Everything that's done at Toolshed, I'm always there because that's all the one-off kind of experimental stuff. I'm always there for those, first brews and really hands-on with that sort of stuff in prep. I'm a little bit of a control freak, so there's processes that I want to make sure that I'm there for, and it's a little bit of a different story. I just do the See Next Tuesday out of Field and Forge. They're a super highly engineered team over there and system. So we often we set a date and we run through some specs and we run through some details on where we're going with certain things and expectations. And then thankfully their head brewer over there, Vince, is a great friend and will continually give me updates during the day. They're an hour and kind of 40-ish minute drive from where I am, and on roads like today, it's not always the best, the best use of my time or safety to drive out there. So they've been great partners in doing that. I'm very lucky that and grateful that I have amazing allies and colleagues that I've earned and garnered over the last 6 years professionally in industry over here, and I get to work with them now on different levels. And I'm fair, like when you think about it, it's like going into a marriage with someone, and you're making, to me, I'm making babies with these people, I'm putting out into the world. So they're extremely accountable partners.
That's great. It's cool that you've got different ones as well. I've heard that it's not always the easiest to rely on just the one brewery to do everything, just in case something goes wrong, or they can't. When I say something goes wrong, meaning no, we have this emergency, we can't fit you in now, or whatever. So it's I've heard that's a good thing, sounds like that's what you got set up.
Yes, I've chosen partners for different reasons. The See Next Tuesday being the Cölsch that it is, I get to, at Field and Forge, they have RO and a centrifuge. So to get that clarity and to be able to manipulate the water profiles to the places that we want is attainable. It's a different story at Toolshed. I'm working with stuff that isn't quite as delicate, and stuff that has a little more leeway and forgiveness in where we can be, but also knowing that system of where it is, and the utilization, both from D and hop utilization, That's the difference, and Toolshed is a lot closer here. They're kind of the smaller batch stuff. I know that when I say that, when I'm talking in 25 and 30 hectoliter, that can be mildly ironic. But they're the reasons. And I have friends in both places. And yeah.
Okay. That's great. I love it. That's really cool, man. It sounds like you've really got like a nice little system going, a real good, bunch of, like you said, partners that you can keep accountable and make sure that they're making the best possible product. Because I know that can be a challenge at times.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the really cool things that has come out of this as well is we're learning from each other. We're learning different techniques, and we're learning different ways to manipulate different things. We're troubleshooting, especially at Toolshed on brew days. I used how many, hundreds of pounds of graham cracker crumble. So you can imagine what that does. And also, put husks and rice husks in, but then, got a stuck mash, and then we had to reverse the sparge, and then working out how to do that and bouncing ideas off each other, and we're actually learning a lot between us, which has been actually a very cool process as well.
That's dope. Yeah, I guess that's something that probably people don't talk about enough, is like what the brewery would learn from doing something for their contractors that they might not be doing themselves. That's dope. I like that whole concept. Is it just you now, by the way, or do you have like a team, maybe some sales reps or anybody else?
It is just me as far as day-to-day operations and fiduciary responsibility. But I did bring in sweat equity partners. So I gave away 6% of my company this year. So the other person that works on it on a weekly basis with me is Eri Riot, who does the design. So they design, all the merch. One of my best friends, who is part of the original logo, so I gave him part of the company. He's also one of my best friends and has helped keep me fed and watered when I haven't been able to keep myself fed and watered. And then my other friend, who designs all the tap handles and pretty much acts as an honorary sales rep. So I gave them part of, not that it's worth much right now, but hopefully in 5 to 10 years, these are the people that have invested their time, tools, and talent and love into myself and into the vision of XhAle. And I wanted to make sure that they're right alongside me.
That's dope. I love that. I've always heard, what's worth more. Like, you could have 50% of something or 100% of nothing. So it's always smart to make sure that a good business, we always try to do that as well. Anything you do, always make sure the people you're working with are taken care of, they're happy, and giving them a piece of the company is great, particularly if they started with you and helped you build the whole thing from the ground up. That's awesome, man. I love that shit.
Yeah.
I want to get to the next beer. I try usually like every 30 or so, and I just wrap them up. I'm always done this one anyway. Which one should I do next? The coffee golden ale, the regular Saison, or the cherry? I imagine the regular Saison.
No, the coffee. The coffee British golden ale. Okay. Yeah, it's still delicate.
Yeah?
So
okay. That's the one? Yeah. You're right. Can you get what's it called again?
Mates for Life.
Mates for Life, the coffee gold. Thank you, Tim.
That's a great name.
Yeah, right? She loves it. Okay, amazing. So, we just talked about this beer. The coffee was from Dingo. I got to look them up as well, because I'm big on third wave coffee. Like, I fucking love it. Do you know what I just got? I got, thank you so much. My brother in Toronto, there's an Aussie cafe called Found Coffee. And they sell, I forgot the name of it, but they're from Berwick. And they brought in the beans, and they were fresh. So I've been drinking Berwick fucking coffee beans around the corner from Mum. It's amazing. I'll double check the name and get back to you, but I've been really stoked to have that. So any coffee beans are amazing. Fun fact, I realized the third wave coffee was invented in Melbourne. Like, that's actually where it's from.
Oh,
isn't that kind of,
there you go. Didn't know that.
See, we fucking changed the world, but personally, I didn't even drink it. while I was there. Idiot.
I've got it. One of the things that was really hard for me when I came here, 2009. I feel old now. Was just finding good coffee. Like this drip coffee Tim Hortons shit that I was made to drink.
Horrendous.
When I first got here. I'd walk like 2.5 kilometers up to the Banff Springs Hotel when I was living in the Banff because there was an Aussie barista up there.
Isn't everyone Aussie?
He knew exactly. Almost.
I'm not joking. When I went there, every single person I met was Australian. It was insane. People working at Safeway, the servers in the restaurants, like everything. It was kind of crazy. So I'm not surprised that there's an Aussie barista. Yes, continue. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. So I'd walk 2.5 kilometers because I just was, I was like super like pissed that I couldn't get a good coffee.
And that's, honestly, it's worth it. There's when I first moved here, though, on the other side, I guess you were a coffee drinker at home?
Yeah, and a like horrible coffee snob.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not I'm not going to even apologize for it.
No, don't apologize for that. I'm just going to take some notes because I normally do review the beer. So I was excited about it because I drank like hot chocolates and stuff. I just didn't really like coffee too much. So when I came here, I was really excited about Tim Hortons and to be honest, like, you know, what the fuck? Labatt Blue and Canadian, all that stuff, right? I didn't really know. I drank Little Creatures and stuff at home, but didn't really know. And I liked it because it was Canadian. So that got it over the line. And then over time, particularly moving here, Montreal's the Melbourne of Canada with the cafes. We're right in the hub of it. There's a million of them here. And
I miss Montreal.
For that, right? Oh, it's probably been a while. Like, you probably wouldn't have been back since 2018, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have.
I was supposed to come back for
the last Fooduni.
For the last Fooduni.
Fuck, man. Yeah. Honestly, I've said this before in here. Like, I'm so over beer festivals. I beer festivaled out, but the only one I'd really want to go to was Fooduni. It was just the greatest experience of the lifetime. Fuck, it was great.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. So I feel like now I've discovered real coffee and I'm very passionate about it. And the same as beer. Like, I can't go back. I know some beer drinkers who can go and they'll have a Budweiser and then they'll come back to the craft. Like, I personally, I can't entertain that fuck shit. I've tried to like it. It's just disgusting. I don't know how you feel, but I imagine you'd be similar. No, you drank a Labatt Blue the other day. You posted it, and I was like, I'm going to talk to her about that.
Labatt Blue and chicken fingers.
That's your one?
It's a guilty pleasure. And there's this place that does really killer chicken fingers. They're actually like real chicken fillets, like breaded and fried, and they're amazing.
Okay.
And they have Labatt Blue in like the old like well tubs that they still put the ice in.
I know the vibes.
And yeah, people don't know about it down there. And it was one of those days where you like stop at the traffic lights and you have mini meltdowns. So I needed to go and have a Labatt Blue and chicken fingers and know that everything was still right in the world.
Is it like a comfort thing?
I think so.
You know what?
Because Labatt Blue is one. It's like I was drinking that when I first got to Canada as well.
So you have the same, like that nostalgic. Yeah. And you can't be mad at that. And I'm definitely not.
It's actually not a shitty beer. It's actually
really. I never liked it.
Really, it doesn't have that. For me, I think it has that like. It's quite soft and floral, and it's consistent.
Okay. I mean, floral is an interesting descriptor. I'm going to have to try it again.
It's not like it's like soft, like that noble hop, like creamy kind of white floral that you still get, and it's got that little bit of like minty herbaceousness that comes off on the back end, but that sweet graham cracker in underneath. Like, it's really not a shittily made beer. It's just
you're really
generic.
you're talking it up. You're talking it up.
It's not a shitty made beer. It's super consistent. It's just a big beer company, shitty big beer company.
I'm gonna take your word for it. We do sometimes do these videos where we have to you do a little challenge and you have to drink a macro beer as punishment. So maybe I'll I'll grab a blue. What I do recently, I did Bud Light, like Mill MGD or something. No, I can't do that. Any of that stuff. Like, it's just like, I don't know, I can't. And that was coming back to the Tim Hortons thing really quick, because I want to talk about this beer.
Okay.
I can't go back to Tim Hortons coffee in any shape or form. It's just, once you have that fire third wave that's single origin, and they've got this complex fruity notes, and they're just money. You can't drink bitter, dirty, like, damn near gas station water. It's just disgusting to me. Except Tim Biebs. Shouts to Biebs. Justin Bieber's the GOAT, obviously. And, his bowls are fantastic. I'm a big fan. But aside from that, I always find it funny. Pause. I always find it funny when people can do that. I can't go either way. I can't drink shit coffee. I can't drink shit beer. I can't. I have the nostalgia's not strong enough. But either way, I'm walking a long way for a good coffee is worth it. And this is fantastic. This is exactly how you described it. It's like the coffee's on the nose, but not overwhelming. So it's still kind of fruity as well. And then,
well, the coffee itself has like this, stone fruit, apricot, and like pastry notes to it, and then also one of the other blends has like a little bit of that chocolate roastiness, and citrus. So it was a blend of those two different types of coffee that and chose. So it uses Triumph hops coming out of BC. Which really complement, which you can also get those citrus and stone fruit notes off those. And also earthiness. You get a little earthiness.
I was confusing it maybe with herbal. Is there any herbal vibes, or am I reading into that?
Well, Triumph is a noble derivative.
So it can be described as a bit herbal, perhaps, with that?
It could have a little bit, and that could also be coming from the coffee too.
I like it.
In the way it presents itself.
That's awesome. This is great. Definitely not what I expected it to be. Like, on paper, just like the beer you were just drinking, the Nickel Brook one, sounds kind of fucked up, but it just works. This doesn't sound fucked up, but it sounds like, ooh, this could go either way. But you made this work, and I love that the tie-in, I guess, obviously the not-for-profit stuff, which is consistent for you, as we were saying, but the Aussie coffee is money. I love that. It makes me very, very happy. I discovered this dude. I can't say how, because I'll get in trouble, but I discovered this dude who's from Ottawa, and he's a singer, like an R&B singer, and he was, I heard his voice, and he kind of sounds like, Chris Stapleton?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he sounded like him. I'm like, what the fuck? But I didn't know he was Aussie, so I checked out his Instagram, and it's sort of like the way he had it, the top in his bio, it had like, this tribe living on this ground. So I was like, okay, maybe he's Indigenous Canadian. I'm like, okay, sick. So I checked, looking through, I'm like, all right, listen to his music. I'm like, this dude is amazing. Then I saw him wear a hoodie that had the Australian Indigenous flag on it. And I was like, oh, cool. He's like repping for the Aussies. I'm like, hang on a second. I went to his thing and listened to him talk, and he's Australian. And his name's Mikhail Laxton. MIKHAL.
Can you send on
Instagram?
Connected on? Oh, yeah, but I'm on Spotify because I think I follow you on Spotify.
Oh, yeah. I'll send you right now. I've been bumping it. I'm so impressed with this guy. What's the best way? Messenger?
Either way, yeah. Either way, but please send me the links because I'm always looking for cool new shit to listen to.
I'm doing it as we talk right now. He's just.
By the way, I loved your last album.
Thank you very much, man. It was, so much stress, so much work, as, I guess you know how all these things go, but I'm happy that it's out.
Babies.
It's the baby, and there's, many years in the making. I just text that to you. But it's great. I'm happy. The response was great. I'm satisfied with that now, so we've still more videos coming. We got like a deluxe version with 5 new tracks and a little mini BTS doco thing we're putting together, so, you got to keep the content coming. Amazing. Yeah, man, it's a lot, but it's nice. It's great. I'm happy. Thank you. So this is super dope. Yes. No? You've
been pushing some limits. It's been really cool to watch you both pop up on YouTube feeds and suggested content and stuff. It's been really, really cool.
What was suggested? Yeah. Like the high season stuff?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
it's growing nicely. Like we're the YouTube community is the best thing. Honestly, the YouTube's the best thing that ever happened to us for that. It's the greatest shit ever, dude. Like I can't express how like the joy, the sheer joy we get from somebody commenting, like who's a new business owner, like, oh my gosh, I just started these, are so helpful, I didn't know any of this stuff, thank you, and like really just, you know, just a comment from nobody who's paying us and then getting the check and doing something for a client is just, it doesn't even compare. It's really crazy how that can make you feel that you're helping people at scale, because you can go one-to-one, people can pay you, cool, but you can help people en masse, either through the free content and then moving that where next year we want to move into courses and things like that, and sort of just into education. It's just so much nicer, you know? Like it's a different vibe, but it's cool, right? It's cool to sort of try and do as many different things as possible, and like just like you've been doing with all the charitable stuff there, like giving back and you know, like we start, I should get you involved in the next one. Do you know about Link Up? Did I ever talk to you about that?
No.
Link Up's we started a non-profit last year. No.
Okay.
What year is it? 2021. It's this year. Fuck.
What's my name?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know why I just had to spec, because you know what it's like, you know, you get to December and you're like, fuck, what's what? We started one, basically we're trying to diversify the craft beer industry. Oh, you're busting out that one? Yes, do it. Yeah. The L'espace, Bière de Vacances, the blueberry, guava, and passion fruit. It's not over the top. There's a touch of lactose in there. It's a little stronger than the last version we did. Did I send you some of that too?
Yeah, this is the one you sent me.
You've
sent me this twice though.
Yeah, so that was the new version. The last year, that was the year before.
Okay.
That's why it's not the same batch. We do it every year. And this was the first time we'd done a variant in a can. So that one just dropped. But yeah,
tell me about your Link Up.
So I'll be quick because we're kind of just having a personal conversation and recording it at this point. The Link Up we partnered with a brewery called Sankey and Baron. They're in Aylmer, Quebec. Yeah, it's a nice color. And basically we're trying to diversify the craft beer industry. The main problem is everybody looks like me, white dudes with beards, and obviously craft beer is for everybody, every taste, every culture, everyone can love beer. And we need to change it. So we're doing the way that we raise funds. We collaborate with breweries. They make a beer, just call it Link Up. Excuse me. We don't interfere with what the beer is at all. I'm not sure if this is even a fit for you. I'm just putting it and let it marinate. And we do a series of 6 collaborations. We did our first lot in August, September. Next one starts in the second week of January. Basically do them once every quarter. So that raises the funds. It probably works out to be about $1,000 per brewery, depending on the size of the batches and all that type of stuff. And then they would basically, one, it increases the reach. We promote on our side, the brewery promotes on their side, so the reach goes. The idea is that the brewery would become sort of like a partner, where like if there was any jobs that you have or anything that you need for a position you need filled, you'd send it to us and we'll post it through our job board. If we have potential applicants who we want to hook up with, we got scholarships from Cicerone. So we've put 5 people through the scholarship so far. We've got 1 left, and then we're just going to use our funds to pay for any if they want to go to level 2 and so on and so forth. So we help people, bring people into the industry, and also help people get jobs. We can offer them an apprenticeship. So say if there was a person that basically by POC, so pretty wide spectrum of just trying to introduce more people to the beer industry. If there's someone who's in Calgary and you're one of our Calgary partners and they want to do a 1-month brewery fucking apprenticeship, I'd be like, Christina, we'll pay for this person's wage. They can just come and brew with your partners on brew day or whatever it might be, and shadow you or whatever it is. We can organize it depending on what they want to do. Whether if they want to work in hop farms, we have hop farm partners. We're talking to yeast companies, canning companies, anything, just everything around in and around beer to try and bring people in at every level, whether it's front of house through Cicerone, back of house through the production, so on and so forth. So
I love it. We're doing some similar stuff over here as well, in conversations that I started with someone last year, and we have a couple of groups here, and also I'm working on the diversity and inclusion committee with Alberta Small Brewers here. Sick. And we're looking to do some very similar things. So yeah, let's definitely connect more on that.
You know what? And we're absolutely down. The more of us that work together on the same thing, we could just partner up potentially with that and then make it even stronger. But we want it to be global. We're starting Ontario, Quebec, because that's where we're based. But the idea is a global thing. So, okay, amazing. I love it. Look at this. All coming together. But no, this beer is great. You really did a good job, man. Like, this is a very unique product. This is great. So this is only available now. There's still some left because it was from a couple months ago. And it's going to be back again next year for those who might have missed that.
Yeah, probably going to be back. We've got it hopefully going to bring in more people next year. So the idea was to get this one out and see how we went. And then we're going to reconvene as a committee. So I sit on the committee for the Buddy Up campaign leading up. So Buddy Up month is actually June.
Okay.
So we sit on that committee and we have some fairly in-depth committee meetings leading up to that. And one of the projects I think I'll be taking on is doing a either Alberta-wide and or nationally-wide campaign for Mates for Life.
Love it. Anyway, we can signal boost, keep you posted. That's amazing.
Amazing.
Killing it. That's beautiful. So the other thing, now we've sort of talked about the business. I wanted to do that first. So you've had a pretty interesting week, as you were saying, on Instagram. You know, I'll just let you talk about it. Talk about it, because it's. I think it's an important thing for the industry, and sort of like not even just beer. You're actually sort of, there was a similar thing that happened whenever it happened, because time doesn't matter anymore. Probably earlier this year or something. Overall in beer, but this seems to be like in beer, but the adjacent businesses that are sort of being held accountable for their actions. So I'll let you break it all down.
Yeah, I mean, I got my first hospitality industry job at 18, and so that was 21 years ago. Almost 22 years ago.
Look at us, old farts.
Oh, God. So over the course of that time, I'm gonna touch on some pretty heavy shit here. Okay. So hashtag content warning. Could be traumatic for some people, and there's trigger warnings. Over the course of that time, I was stolen from managers and bosses. I was groomed. I was raped. I not paid for time that I worked. There was a lot of abuse, and something that we keep seeing, and this is not just at a local industry level, this is on a global level. We still have an old boys club within the hospitality industry, where so-called hospitality geniuses or people are so ingrained within the culture as individuals are excused, their behavior is minimized, and the people who they harm are expendable. Unfortunately, my experiences within the Calgary hospitality industry have not been always great. And there were warning flags put up to a previous employer 6 years ago when I was working for them around an individual that is still within their company, unfortunately. But the other thing is that now, as an old bitch that has become the person that I needed to be for myself all those years ago, I can now, when I hear of the abuse and I hear of somebody now getting more opportunity and investors because of their place of privilege and power and haven't been held accountable for their shitty actions, I have held some people in local industry who are very well known accountable for their actions, but also called out another, one of my previous employers to help call out somebody else accountable that they've invested in. It has been seen by that group as a personal attack, and it's not. These people have far greater pull and far greater weight behind them, that if we can call to attention the insidious nature of grooming and the way in which the hospitality industry makes excuses for men mostly, and the way in which the industry has treated those in subservient or less privileged positions as expendable. If we can get those big partners to wake the fuck up, smell the cheese, which is rotting in the fridge, and do something about it, and then start holding their owners, the other owners within industry, accountable for not covering shit up and not allowing these misdemeanors to be minimized, then maybe we can get somewhere. And I think one of the other things that's opened up is we need it's good to see, you know, this previous employer a couple of months ago has brought in a third party since there was another incident. Unfortunately, I've heard some other things that have recently gone down. What we actually need is a collaborative joint industry standard program that gives people essentially a seal of approval that they've gone through certain training and have adopted certain programming that allow for greater representation, inclusion, diversity, and more so creating safe spaces for everyone. And the industry, the individual who I personally called out is the owner of a new bar that just opened up here, and there are a list of investors and well-known people within the community that probably don't want to hear that. And I've had some people reach out saying that what I'm saying is a lie, but these people are coming from places of privilege and not hearing the direct stories. And since I made that post, I've had other people come forward about this individual around other abusive power behavior over the course of years, mostly women in service roles. Some men. So I had one guy message me and say, you know, I worked with that piece of shit, years ago. So thank you so much for bringing this. But this stuff comes at it comes at personal cost, because now I've put my business on the line with some very major players, and I've made some people mad.
Were they accounts of yours?
Yeah. Well, I had already decided not to work with some certain accounts because of individuals within that, an individual within that business that made that place unsafe for me. So I already kind of consciously made that decision that I wasn't going to work with him while that individual was there. And I keep hearing stories that individual is still making places unsafe. And one of the things that I said in the post is that I won't work with this new bar, not that they were an account already. And I won't work with the people who, as a supplier, that is, I will work with people to try and find a solution, but I won't work with them as a supplier or put my name and business attached to their name and business until certain things happen, and that is, i.e., otherwise in a separation from this harmful individual that I called out, or that they have a third party come in and do an audit and implement inclusion, diversity, and safety training. That is ongoing work that needs to be done. One of the great things that has come out of it is the conversation around education and rehabilitation of individuals who have caused harm, because I do believe that you can't tell someone to go away, because going away is not a solution. Going away is still a place, right? It is not. Away is still a place.
To be harmed. Yeah. Yeah.
Away is still a place. So how do we re-educate, and how do we make advocates out of people who have caused harm, and switch, because that's when we change the cultures and we change the narratives. But also the other part of the conversation is, how do we as suppliers and producers have vertical accountability? You know, we talk about how we're holding ourselves accountable as individuals or individual businesses, but how are we holding that accountability vertically?
Across the industry.
That is vertically between other breweries, and that is vertically between our account partnerships, because often the narrative has been that our accounts have us by the balls,
How so
to speak. I mean, you know, there's the whole nature around inducements, and that somehow because they buy our stuff, we owe them. Gotcha. We have to placate and be complicit, and that is not the case. We don't have to placate, and we shouldn't be complicit.
No.
So, and that for myself and for XhAle is, you know, we're about inclusion and diversity and giving voices and having those really hard fucking conversations that make people uncomfortable, because they need to be having our spaces. So I saw an individual that I've just heard so many horrible stories, and I know has had sexual assault grievances, and has been covered up and made excuses for, and it's been minimized, and they've had the opportunity to open another bar and be put in positions of power where that can continue again. And I was like, fuck that. Like, if I let that go, knowing that somebody else could be harmed in those ways, and I did that knowingly and just sat back and did nothing about it, I
couldn't live with that. Yeah, it's not okay.
So, it's not okay. It's not fucking okay.
No, it's not. So, I mean, look, props to you for going in on this. I mean, obviously you're just doing whatever feels right then. So then obviously we had I don't know what to call it. Like, people called it the Bière Me Too thing. I don't know. I feel like that's diminutive a little bit though. Like, it was a pretty, that's important thing, and there were so many things shared. You know what I'm talking about, right? With
Yep, the rat magnet.
Yeah. So that was a pretty big deal in beer that spurned the Brave Noise collabs that sort of started popping up. Not a huge uptake though, similar to Black is Beautiful, like out here in Canada and stuff. Which sort of shows where the industry's head's at, because every single one of them jumped on the altogether other half one when it started the pandemic. But, Black is Beautiful was a slow uptake, and then it seems like Brave Noises as well. So obviously there's a ton of work to do. So it seems like that kind of set the stage, and not that anything was okay, but it felt like there was more awareness. But obviously there's a lot more work to do, particularly locally, and particularly, like you said, within the partners, because it seemed to only be focused on breweries. I'm not sure if you could speak more to that, but that was from what I saw and read, and there's a whole bunch of articles I read about that, and it was, it was mostly just on the brewery. So I think you made a fantastic point that the people who sell your beer also have the same problem. I've worked in hospitality. I've seen how people are treated. I've been treated like shit. Obviously nowhere near what you're talking about, but I know the dismissiveness of being a lowly server or service worker. I know how that feels, and I can only imagine being female when most of the bosses are male and like to probably wield that power. A lot of them were dick swinging, and some of them were my friends and treated me like I was shit. We were equals back in the day working at another job, and this one dude was my boss at another restaurant down the track, and he treated me like shit, and I was like, wow, these motherfuckers are crazy. So as you were speaking, whilst I could never even remotely understand what you went through or what anyone else in that position went through who are women, I understand, at least to a degree, what these motherfuckers are like. They're manipulative. This hospitality industry is fucked. It's really weird. I can't speak to breweries because I haven't worked in them, but hospitality is fucked, and there's so much work to be done there. So I don't know if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, it's I think one of the words that comes up is there's this feeling or narrative around that they're untouchable. And what a friend of mine said to me, because I was fucking mad when I found out. I was so fucking mad. And I had the conversation with a very dear friend, and he said to me, but Christina, who is going to hold these people accountable? These people are industry veterans and have got their claws in so many places. Who's going to hold them accountable? And I was like, these people aren't fucking untouchable. Like, they are not untouchable. What? Nobody else is going to touch them because they're so scared of losing an account. Well, guess what? You're complicit in this. You know about this. And you're contributing to putting those people into positions without the accountability to change where they are, the amount of interaction that they have, and how we hold them accountable to re-educating and rehabilitating themselves in not treating people like shit.
Word. I mean, like, what? So then, you know, what? I don't know if you have any thoughts on the solution, because obviously this isn't a one little thing that's going to solve it. It's going to be consistent work from many people over time, and there's going to be a series of things that need to be done. But I feel like it's more complex when you're referring to the industry as a whole, as you're saying, the vertical, the whole industry. Like, what do you have any thoughts on what could be done? I mean, you mentioned something before a little bit, maybe about like the training, but that's cool. I don't know. I don't really fuck with the kitty gang. I don't really like. I feel like the training is like, it's like lazy to me. It's like a cop out. Like, even people doing the DEI training for, like, you know, don't be racist. Like, it's like cool, but it feels like it falls flat. Like, it doesn't feel like it's enough. And I think that if there's men in power who have sexually assaulted women in the past and are essentially enabled to do so, like, how does one even begin to stop unless you starve them at the source?
Well, see, sexual assault doesn't always just happen at the point of contact, at the point of the event, right? Grooming happens mostly between then, and that happens when men are in positions of power, or women are in positions of power, and groom young individuals with you know, booze and drugs and sex and whatever else, and wield people into a certain place where they are manipulated into subservience, and if they, you know, then those people won't hold, you know, the people in power accountable because supposedly they're friends.
Well, that's what you mean by okay. I never thought about that. So they just it's like I think of the grooming more the you know, they get a young one and they groom them to do the sex shit, but that's another way to look at it. That there is a psychological groom. It's the same kind of thing. It's a psychological grooming that you get you on
bring
their
people
side.
into a certain and then you can pretty much get away with what you want. And then you also get your way with, and you know, often young women haven't been taught, you know, boundaries, or haven't learned how to hold certain boundaries or understand the nature of being taken advantage of.
Yeah, because they wouldn't really understand it yet.
And so when also, you know, one of the things that I faced as I was older and going back into the hospitality industry here is I knew all about that shit already.
So you couldn't be fucked with.
I couldn't be fucked with. And I didn't play into the games, and I didn't play into the charm, and it's how I ended up with all the clopens, which I don't know if you have clopens over there, where you close the bar down and then you reopen it for breakfast the next morning.
Clopen. Yeah, I've heard. I've done that before, and it's usually illegal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because it like doesn't have to be 12 hours between the shifts, and often you close at 3 a.m. You have to be there at like 11 or something, or 10 to
Yeah,
open type of
sometimes
thing.
like 9 or 10. Yeah. So, you know, because I didn't go to the after parties at the manager's house, and because I didn't laugh at his poor jokes that made fun of other team members, that uses inappropriate sarcasm, and essentially it was a bully, and called him out on it, then I was on the outer. And I had people within the team coming to me crying, not knowing what to do, and you know, brought it to higher ups, and it was minimized, and the individual ended up getting a promotion and being shipped off to another city, and then being given training and stuff. But at the end of the day, that person has continued to harm and charm.
Right. Which is that's fun.
But that is like the reason for my post, was because I found out about another individual had been given more opportunity after misdemeanors at another local, really well-known venue, and had essentially been excused from that venture, and then was reinvested in by a bunch of other privileged individuals, and put back into a position to be able to continue cycles without accountability. And that makes my stomach turn.
Yeah, it's fucked up, man. So what, I mean, obviously you're bringing attention to it via the posts and stuff that you're able to, you rolled the dice and, took any of the heat on you, like you said, put your name and your business in the firing line there for that. Is there like and I know this is like deeper question, is there anything that should happen first? Like what's the next step to sort of stop this?
I think we've had some really cool conversations around that re-education and rehabilitation piece. I think the first thing is, standing up to the plate and admitting that there's been grievances and that there's been harm done. And
is that
then
from the business or from the individual?
From all individuals.
All
I think that needs to happen. The vulnerability, I believe in that, is really powerful. And if that happens, I would definitely meet that with compassion, and I would be the first person to support the re-education and rehabilitation of those people and those businesses, because I think that that's something that needs to be done as well. We like the shame game, the ongoing shame game also doesn't work. It actually perpetuates shitty behavior. A way is still a place. So I think that's one of the big things. The other thing is that came out of that post was people sent me private messages saying that they never thought that they'd ever been seen or heard, and they were just dismissed and forgotten about. And these individuals have gone on to create success and fortune, and the people who were expendable get to live with the abuse for the rest of their lives.
Right.
Essentially. So, I think the first piece is definitely getting those conversations happening, getting the big pull from the big players into those conversations, and forcing those conversations with other big players and with other industry professionals, holding each other accountable. I think that is the biggest step, and making those who have been left unseen and unheard feel seen and heard.
I like that. I feel like that's probably the most sensible way to attack it to begin with, and you can kind of move from there. But I guess it all starts with, admitting the wrongdoings from both the individuals and from the companies to make sure that they're held accountable, as opposed to letting them flourish in their fuckery. So it's a big one, man.
I like that. Letting them flourish in their fuckery. I'm so using that.
please take that one. But that's really fucked up. But good on you for obviously you shouldn't put the whole cause on your back. Hopefully there's other folks supporting you out there specifically, because it sounds like obviously it's an endemic thing across the industry, but hyper local in what you're specifically referring to. But it could, once again, if enough people in different places are held accountable, I imagine that would spread and more positive outcomes would result from all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and if anybody's listening to this and you are a manager or an owner within industry and you want more information around how you can not be part of the problem, or how you think that you can potentially support what's going on here, then please reach out. Yeah, the support the more people and the more voices we have around this, the better, because once again, it's those who have been abused doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah, and that's really not optimal. Thank you so much, in any shape or form, or it doesn't work that way. Everyone needs to lift each other up and stuff, and it can't just be those who are affected by it just being doing it. So hopefully the industry gets their shit together, because it's pretty fucked up, and it's sad that there's so many. Look at all the conversations we have to have around misogyny, sexual abuse, racism. Like, fucking hell, man. Can we just be chill? Like, what's everyone's damn problem? It's just wild. This industry is very interesting, eh?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the t-shirt that you're wearing, the reason why we designed that, just be fucking kind, is for those reasons. Just be fucking kind.
It's not hard.
Be good people. Try not to be a see you next Tuesday.
In the negative way, because there's some really...
In the negative way.
I would think... I'm not going to say it. I'm going to try not to reverse it. And on that note, it is time for the next one. So now, is this the award-winning bad boy?
This is the award-winning bad boy. It keeps getting better and better in that can. That Diastatic Yeast is phenomenal. It's the B134 from me. I love dry. Like, some brewers hate dry yeast, but I love it. I've been working with it for years, and knowing how to work with it in very particular ways.
I love it. It's amazing. So
Did you get that berry, like bubblegummy lemon balm goodness off the top of that?
Yeah. I did a little.
Like the spice comes in underneath.
I think I went a little heavy-handed with the pour. Tiff's going to take the photo. Try and change it up from the pour shots. You can top it up if you need to as well. It's going down. No, it smells great. Nice look. What's the name? What's the deal with the name? I meant to ask you.
Oh, yeah. So the series is a tribute to Rage Against the Machine.
Okay.
They weren't raging against white goods is a commentary on how in 2020, when people found out, apparently it took them 20 years to find out that Rage Against the Machine was not raging against the white goods. In fact, they were raging against a broken system.
Right.
So it's a commentary on they weren't raging against white goods. And how long it took people to come to that realization.
So not an actual machine, but the machine.
Yeah, the big machine. So there's actually a little blurb on the back that gives the story around that.
Amazing. I love it. I like that the can. People will see it shortly when they bust out the next one. Oh, that head! They've just topped it up. The head is like the meringue.
Isn't it beautiful?
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like. As soon as I saw that you did a saison, I thought what you mentioned earlier, that it wasn't super popular as a style in Alberta, because it's not in Ontario either, but it is here. Obviously, as you know, in Quebec, it's farmhouse beers are pretty massive. So I feel like I imagine there'd be like a nice little, I don't want to say subset to minimalize it, but like there'd be like a real little community of fucking heavy Saison fans, I imagine. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
That are excited as shit for this. Thank you so much. Look, sorry, the head's kind of gone down a little bit, but top that bitch up. Yeah. Woo. Look at that, mate. That is produce right there. Yeah, so the Saison fans must be eating it up.
Yeah. The fun thing, though, about this beer is that the non-Saison drinkers were Loving it.
Like keen as well. Love it.
Yeah, because it doesn't have that kind of traditional grassiness, and sometimes you get that ammonia that can come off some saisons, or like they're fermented too high for too long and they are a phenolic mess.
Yeah, don't like the phenols. I'm not a fan either.
Yeah, there is. It's the phenols come in subtle in underneath,
Okay.
and yeah, something once again that I really love about saisons as well is that they change over they change over time, and if you've done it right, they get better.
Usually that is the case too. And you did mention that was interesting. This was one of the few that were in a can for the awards. Is that right? You were saying
it's
before?
The only one that was in a can that won the award. So,
okay.
And that's one of the things we think, that the farmhouse need to come in a bottle. But if you've ever been out to Hermit Thrush out in Battleborough in
Yes, I haven't been, but I've had their beers, yeah.
So they everything they do is in a can, and it's all mixed ferment and barrel aged.
Yes,
and everything is canned.
Right,
yeah.
So their shit is like enamel ripping, like it's phenomenal. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was more like I don't think it's strange at all. I've had a million saisons out of cans. It was I think it's an interesting point that you brought up that this was the only canned one, and maybe historically it's worth noting that canned beer was looked down upon as not as sophisticated or as well put together as a bottle of beer. And this style is typically known. You go to Belgium, you're not really going to find too many farmhouse beers in a can or whatever you want to call them. So. I think that were you for the why did you go for the can? I guess is what I want to know for this one. Was it just because that was what your producers worked with and it was easy?
Yeah, process. I mean, eventually, I'd love to be like when not if when I have my own space and brew house. Hopefully, be able to bottle condition a bunch of cool saisons. But for the Saison series for now and probably for a while, we're still going to be releasing Saisons in a can because once again it's that accessibility piece, right? Like not everybody's going to buy something for a bottle because things in bottles people don't feel that it's too fancy or it's too expensive or it's what I mean, like keeping that accessibility piece around craft beer because we're terrible hideous snobs. We need to remember that we need to pull our head out of our ass and that the accessibility around these kinds of styles can be important to the markets that we keep them open to.
Yeah, I think that's
and the demographics.
Point. Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point, particularly with the bottles versus cans thing is interesting. I've noticed lately, I don't know if you've seen it out there, but there's been a bit more of a trend that breweries who are known for, say, making stuff in 750s have started making the same beers in 375 or 330 ml bottles, which I like Small Pony in Ottawa. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. They're just do barrel-aged sours. They all do 750s, but then they brought out these 375s. And it's money. Because it's like the other one, it's a little much. I don't know if I want 750 ml of anything, even if it's 5%. It's just a lot, It's particularly these sours that are, like I said, these enamel ripping sours. But the smaller bottles, I'm like, this is. I had one recently, and I was like, this is perfect. It's exactly what I needed. So like, I feel that there's, and due to the pandemic, and obviously this shit is like fucking roller coaster. Even out here in Ontario, they're all changing stuff all the time. And there's less opportunity to sit with people and share a big bottle like we typically would do in the past. So I'm appreciative of those smaller bottles. Even if they're 500 ml, you can either share that or you can still neck that to yourself. Like, I feel like there's time and place for everything. But either way, the bottle culture, I think, isn't totally going away. But I think you're 100% right that they are, that accessibility much easier in a can.
Yeah, definitely. Blind Man Brewery have started putting out some of their really cool imperial stouts in the little tiny stubbies. I think that they are 210 ml, I believe.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Particularly, I was talking to someone recently about this, and apparently I've seen them before, but I couldn't tell you a brewery. But in the States, they have like 8-ounce cans. You know, like those mini Coke cans that they used to give on airplanes or whatever, like them joints. That's interesting.
That's
because
what Blind Man are doing.
That's Blind Man doing. Okay, maybe you told me about this. Maybe we talked about it. I don't remember, but I just think it's such a dope idea because I've been trying, like the 10%. Like I imagine, I don't know what your beer drinking thing is like, but just like all of us, we all end up with a bunch of shit in the cellar unintentionally. Beer just comes in and out. It's just the part of how we all work, and you end up with all this stuff because you can't always drink it. So I end up just sort of stockpiling unintentionally a whole bunch of larger bottles of stouts. I'm like, fuck, man, I'm never going to drink these 10, 11, 12. Like, when am I going to drink it? So I started to make it like a Stout Wednesday. And Tiff will... because I'm not supposed to drink, so I won't drink until, like, we're like night owls. We don't, like, get up a bit late, go to bed late. So around, like 11 p.m. or something, like after dinner, done all that, then it'd be like, all right, end of the night, then you finish it with a stout. And I would either have one by myself, because I can, if you haven't had any beer, you can drink a 10% stout, 500 ml, you don't barely feel anything because you've eaten and it's just one. If Tiff splits, it's dessert. Exactly, very tasty dessert. Otherwise, if Tiff splits it with me, I'll have a couple. So I've been able to work my way through the cellar lately, and I've enjoyed it so much more than I thought I would. That's just so many flavors that I would on a normal night. Obviously, you don't have the same problems as me, I guess, because I've got things that I'm required to document. So then there's like pressure to drink shit, and I can't really justify. I don't want to drain it if I can avoid it. So don't want to drink a 10% fucking stout after I've had 4 other beers. It's just not happening. I'm too soft for that. So like having them on this one specific night has helped. Helped you sort of appreciate that bottle.
Amazing. Speaking of documentation, I do need to take a photo here. Hang on.
Yes. Oh, wait.
Give us a... There we go. Okay.
Good. Got it.
Speaking of documentation.
You need it for the social. You need it. This is a question about this. Are you supposed to pour all the... Is there a sediment at the bottom?
There potentially could be, but...
Am I supposed to pour it?
Probably not.
Probably not. I am. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it?
Totally. It's a farmhouse. Fucking put it in there.
Okay, cool. Do you know why I asked? I had a well, because that's why. Because the farmhouse, I'm confused because I don't drink them very often. It's not really my thing, and I drink a lot of haze. And the haze, you're supposed to fucking boom, 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 and get every little bit. I had a is it called Diastatic? Like the Belgian.
Yep.
Yep. And I poured it. I was splitting it with Tiff's cousin who lives here, and I poured it into, I think it was this glass too, and it was completely opaque. And I took the photo and was posting it. Someone was like, why is it opaque? I'm like, I don't know, I pour it. And they go, did you pour the sediment in? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, nah, dickhead, you're not supposed to fucking do that. I'm like, oh. I'm so used to drinking haze, so I wasn't sure what's appropriate anymore.
I mean, it's up to you. I kind of think that adds, depending on the beer, like drink it without and then pour it in. Like, it can add different dimensions and complexities. I mean, as long as you're not getting a ton of autolysis. So
then you're okay.
Yeah.
All right, just check it, because sometimes the brewer intends for it to be a certain way. And, I don't want to, I want to respect and abide by that, you know what I'm saying?
Drink it how you fucking like it.
I like your vibes. I like it. This is dope, man.
It's the kind of same thing with whiskey. People are like, oh, you can't put water in it or you can't put ice in it. Drink it how you fucking like it. Like, at the end of the day, who gives? Like, I'm a whiskey drinker, and so my cat is looking at me like, you just moved. Drink it how you... Yeah, oh yeah, look, here she is.
Hey, kitty.
Drink it how you fucking like it.
Okay.
Fuck everybody else.
I like it. I like your vibes. Yeah, that's the way it's going to be. I respect it. So I can see why this is. So what was the category that this one? Was it like just straight farmhouse?
Farmhouse and saisons. Yeah.
Farmhouse and saison. Okay. So this would be a like. Once again, this is not my strongest suit as far as like the breadth of these ones, so I could never really pick them as well. But from what I know, this is like a really classic Belgian style, very dry, which I love. Not overly sweet or anything like that. Everything you described them with, the lemon balm and the berries. Minimal, if no phenols. Is there no phenol's the banana, right?
No, there is phenols. No, banana to glycol come off It shouldn't be in a saison yeast.
Okay. It's the bubble gum. Yeah.
It's the bubble gum that'll come off, and they're esters, so anything that's fruity will come up. With the spice is the phenols. Okay. But I like the phenols to be supportive rather than upfront. Okay. In the saisons that I do, but once again, I've taken a classic style and used a New World Frenchy hop coming out of the Alsace region, which is traditionally known for Old World. It's a New World hop coming out of Old World wine region.
And that's the Bar Rouge, right?
That's the Bar Rouge.
Yes, that's a great one. It's doesn't have that has strawberries.
It tastes like strawberries.
Yes, fucking. Because I guess I never really thought about it being used in a beer like this. I know that... you know Emily Le Petit Pierre? You know Emily, I think?
Yeah, we've kind of conversed a little bit on Instagram.
Yeah, she's hella cool. So she did a collab with Overhop, who you connected with recently. That I saw you got some of their stuff. Hey, yes. Yep. That is a little old right now, but someone had it recently, and they said it was a brewer friend of mine who works at Blood Brothers, and he said it's drinking really well, and I thought he would tell me for sure if it wasn't. And I was like, God... but yeah, Emily used it in the collab with Overhop, and I remember Patty was saying that like, we had to go all these places to get this hop, but it's got this wicked strawberry thing that is super key. So I guess that's where the berries are coming from.
Well, if they ever need more, let me know. I have a tap and source into some very cool French hops coming out of new regions, and hopefully going to get my hands on some experimental stuff next year.
I love it.
Coming out of the same region, yeah.
The berries, I don't know, maybe because we're talking about it, I'm getting it more and more now. It's great, man. This is like a nice sort of, almost like a gateway saison, would you say? That sort of, it's classic, it's not, it's just money. It's just kind of like on the note, exactly what it needs to be, with some really fantastic flavors that aren't too, it's just expressed just how it needs to be. It's not too intense. So if someone was maybe new to the style, like in a market like Alberta, where maybe it's not super popular and they're trying one, you might as well try the award-winning one, You know the vibes.
Yep, it's simplicity in complexity.
Are you going to put the award on here for the next run? Is this like a series? So you might not do this again exactly.
Yeah, this is a one and done. One of the things I do want to do when I have my own brew house is do a re-release series. So all these beers, do a year one re-release and do a one-off re-release of our favorites. I really would love to do Impeachable again. That beer was fucking amazing.
It was so good.
As well. So good.
Like, I'd never seen a beer with that much peach in it. Like, it was just crazy. And I didn't expect it. I thought it'd be one of those lightly peached ales because it's sort of so hard to do that. But it was like this close to a smoothie.
Yeah, it was a 390 kilograms worth of peaches, but it was those Citra and Laurel dry hop on it that also uplifted that, because those pull super stone fruity as well as the citrus that comes in from that mandarin notes that come in and support those notes. That beer was, God, that beer is so good.
Yeah, it was
I miss it. Yeah.
I guess it's it gives you a reason to bring it back at the end. I guess it's kind of like no point bringing it back now. It's as far as like the clabber, he's gone. So
we'll wait till Trump does something stupid again and
give it time. Give it time. It's guaranteed. Guaranteed. Let's change the name of it. So then, as far as, can you speak about what else you're going to be dropping? I mean, so far 6 beers deep in 1 year. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's sizable for a brewery that doesn't have their own space, I imagine, right? I imagine the from what I can tell from everyone that I've spoken to, it's typically like you got a couple, but you're not like, Overhop started contracting. They only got their place last year, after contracting for many, many years. I think even when they started, it's probably 2, 3 maybe over time. I feel like because it's just often difficult, but you've been able to figure out a way that you've been able to do so many different ones and I guess maybe the distro system works better there or something that allows you to do it, because maybe over here it's a bit different, more difficult if you're not pumping out the same beer over and over.
I don't know about that. I think I have strengths in, I've been in the industry for a while here, so there's a certain street cred to my name, thankfully. And no, I fucking worked for it. No, that's what my friend told me the other day. Like, you've worked your ass off for the last 6 years. Like, own it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I should fucking own it. I should own it.
Own that shit.
I worked pretty hard in the industry over the last little bit and made some changes and had a fairly loud voice and made a lot of connections. I think the other thing with XhAle is I created a really strong, solid branding program. It's not just, oh, I make cool beer, buy my cool beer. It is, we make cool beer and we're good fucking humans and we're making changes while we're making cool beer. It's that, creating a better place one pint at a time. One of the things that when I do have my own brew house, we want to be an employee-owned cooperative. So it's creating those different structures within traditional structures that challenge certain narratives. And I think people are that resonates with people. And before somebody goes into a liquor store, or before they go into a venue, knowing that the beer will be on tap, that's what they want to order. They're already thinking, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna have a fucking XhAle tonight, and I'm gonna feel good about it.
Love it. It's awesome, man. So I mean, you like that. That's a great mission that you've got that in the very near future. And this year, first year in, 6 beers, huge achievement. For next year, I don't know what you can and can't talk about. You can probably hint potentially if you can't talk about exact things. Yeah, you seem excited, which means it means there's some shit coming.
Yeah, I'm releasing a NEPA into the core lineup. So
what's the vibes?
Uses my 3 of my favorite hops. It's going to be a little different. I don't like my NEPAs like super like filling, or like I like my beer to still taste like beer.
Okay.
So I like complexity with a little grassiness, and I like a little bitterness, residual bitterness as well with NEPAs. So I'm using Laurel and Citra as the 2 main late edition and dry hops, and then using a Mandarina Bavaria in there as well to just kind of break up that juiciness. Uses all Alberta malt on that. And it's called Tripod Penelope after my kitty.
That's awesome.
So, 3 favorite hops, and because she's a little hoppy cat now with her 3 legs, and that's going to have a partial proceeds give back to Parachutes for Pets, which is a non-for-profit here that help the houseless community, low-income communities and seniors pay for pet needs. And so in June, my little Penelope got hit by a car, and we lost her for a day, but found her, and it was going to be $6,000 to get her back.
Fuck.
And I was going to have to make hard decisions, but I maxed out every credit card that I had and got her into surgery, and was just like, I'll fucking figure it out. But I put up a GoFundMe and then threw my phone across the room, and didn't pick it up for a day. And overnight, my community raised $5,500 to help me get her back. I'm not going to cry. So it's my way of paying it forward, and we're going to be throwing a big gala in March with one of my amazing restaurant partners here called Freehouse. And so we're going to be doing a big gala to release that. So that's going to be released in February. We're taking a little break from releases, and then have the Saison series planned out. Can't say too much about that yet, but it is the base Saison and then a fruited Saison that's coming after it, and super excited about that. Also uses some New World French hops in the mix with that.
Love it.
Have a sour coming out as
Nice.
well. And then going to be, as I said, I think I told earlier about the Christmas plum pudding, or
Yes.
it's going to be the Christmas pudding porter, because we're taking the plums out for next year, and then re-release the Mates for Life again. So we'll have the 2 core beer, and then we'll have 5 short beer in between. So it'll be 7 beer in the next year.
I love it. What are the 2 cores then? So see you next Tuesday.
It'll be see you next Tuesday, and it'll be Tripod Penelope.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because obviously the Impeachable was the very first, the first one, but was sort of like
it was a one
and done type of thing. Okay.
Well, actually, it was a 2 and done because it sold so quickly that I had to do more of it.
I'm not surprised.
And then
that was such a good beer. Like do you know what? I think I said to you the last time. Like it was just so interesting. I never seen. Usually, all my friends who are all the breweries I've met and spoken to over the years who are in contracting over here, I've always felt like they were so limited by what the breweries could do for them, and doing a beer with that much fruit just didn't even seem like even remotely an option. So that's why I was so surprised, and that's why I think some of it's got to do with the way you guys in the West have a completely different distro system. Then over here, it's a little more limited, and I just don't think it's possible to do something that intense. So I was extraordinarily like, wow, this is crazy. It was like, it looked like in New England, like it was just murky and just so much fruit in it that I imagine was not re-fermenting. What's it called? It was already pasteurized. Or
no, it was all added in. So all the fruit that I add into beer when I do fruited versions is all fermented. It's all added either on day 4 or day 5 of fermentation. So everything, no residual sugars, everything is fermented out.
No risks.
I am going to say that I can't drink a smoothie.
You can't drink a smoothie?
I can have a 4 ounce, and then I'm generally about done.
Is that because of the sweetness, the texture?
It's the sweetness for me. It is overwhelming for my palate. I like my beer dry.
Okay, you like Tiff, and Tiff hates sugar and stuff, so you don't like smoothies, baby. Smoothie beers? You don't like smoothie beers?
Not a huge fan.
No, right? Christina's saying the same thing. It's the sweetness, so
yeah.
It's just too much.
Not a beer.
It's what?
Not a beer.
It's not a beer. There you go. Wow.
It's the same thing. I like my beer. I like my beer to still
taste like beer.
I like it to be dry, and I like it to be balanced. And I like the complexity in that. For me, the overwhelming of anything in a beer for me is hard to move past.
You know what? I completely respect that. I feel like smoothies tend to be a what's the word? Like, what's the fucking word? Not controversial as much, but I find that like you either love them or you hate them type of thing. I don't know. I like stupid shit in beer. I'm not super fussed. I don't give a fuck if it tastes like beer. I think it's awesome. Smoothies are my favorite shit ever because it's just sick. It's just wicked fruit.
I get it.
I mean, under no pretenses that it's 50% fruit or 40% fruit. And look, I still think it's beer. I don't care, but I don't care that I can't taste the beer because I know that it was a great Berliner Weiss at one point, and then they just threw the shit on top. I don't think that. I've also had average smoothies, so I know that when I have a good one, you appreciate it because they're not the easiest things in the world to make. But it would be, a lot of my friends being nerd friends, some of them get really angry about them and stuff. So I'm like, I get it.
I'm not angry. I'm not angry about totally, it.
Yeah. You just know what you
I'm
like.
not angry. I just it's I get it. Well, I get it, and I understand it why people like them, and there is a place for them in the market. There is a place for everything within the market. Whether you like to play in that place or not, that's completely up to you.
That's it. They're it's what some of the hype kids are after, but I think they're not really. They haven't transcended enough yet. Still early days with the smoothies. So no XhAle smoothies. What we're talking about?
No, that was actually a joke. Because I kept getting people like when are you gonna do a smoothie? And I just kept on writing never. And so one of the jokes, and so one of my closest friends here from Outcast Brewing, Patrick Schnarr, and I actually work in the tap room for Patrick Schnarr. And he's the one who's known for the smoothies here. Like he was the first one in Alberta to do them, and did some raging raging super good smoothies. Like the blueberry cobbler one that they do, I will have 8 ounces of that. Like I'll let you know I'll have 8 ounces of that. And then I'm done. But I kept getting people writing me saying, when are you going to put out a smoothie? And so my joke on one of my Instagram feeds, I think it was a story feed, and I put it up on my Facebook, was, dear everyone who keeps asking me to make smoothies, no.
So no collab? No Outcast collab then? It's not happening?
We'll do an Outcast collab. Maybe I'll shoot myself. It's the other thing, like, I hate cream ales. I fucking hate cream ales. I hate anything with, like, vegetal nature to it.
Yeah. I've seen you talk about this before, and I always found it, like, I don't like them either, but I don't have a particular distaste for them, but I think that's hilarious. That it's like, that. It is a strange beer, though.
It's got these, like, for me, anything with I'm super sensitive to anything vegetal. And and there's also this infamous story where I went to a brewery with a friend, and he ordered a flight, but they only had the 3 beer on the flight, so he ordered just an extra cream ale, and I said, I'll do the same, but I'll have the extra IPA and not the cream ale. I'll just have 2 of the other ones. And he went, oh, you don't want the cream ale? And I was like, no, I don't want the cream ale. And he said, well, do you know what a cream ale is? And my friend just kind of like held on to the bar of like,
oh, here we go.
this is going to go either way.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, you know, I won an award for my cream ale. And I was like, actually, I was the head judge for that award that you won, and I had to sit through 14 hybrid ales, and 12 of them were cream ales to give you that award. So yes, I know what a cream ale is, and I don't want one.
And what did he say to that? Not much?
But didn't ask my male friend and
of course
say...
It still boggles my mind that this is a thing. Like, why would someone assume in 2021 that a woman at a bar doesn't know what anything is? Like, I imagine that there has to just be straight misogyny, like, just running through all this stuff. I just don't understand why anyone would assume in these days, because that is a very dangerous assumption. I would say most breweries are getting to that 50-50 point, at least with gender. So wouldn't, you know, if that would suggest there's a knowledge there. There's a lot of female brewers, a lot of people, female brewery owners, speaking to one, like, I just don't understand that that's the thing. I just couldn't. I've never seen it before. I've only heard stories, because it's preposterous to me that you would ever assume someone's beer knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, it was, 2018 that it happened? So it wasn't...
all of 3 years ago, though. It's not that long ago.
Yeah, totally. It's not that long. So it's a famous story that a lot of people know, and everybody knows I fucking hate cream ales. And it's not anything against... And I fucking hate cucumber in beer. I hate cucumber. Once again, it's that vegetal thing. If I get a whiff of anything vegetal, I'm like, ugh. Game over. OVAH, over. So I always joke that I'm going to do a cream ale at one point, but it's going to be a really expensive joke, and I came up with one. I kind of took on Brett Wilson out here, who is a really well-known investment banker. We actually call him Orphan, or Daddy Orphan Wells, because there's he left a lot of orphan wells out here. Anyway, he made a dumb comment on Twitter that, you know, when you go into the provincial election, when you go into the municipal elections, remember when you're voting for XYZ, you're voting for unions, and which will create more jobs and cost more money and higher wages. And which is the most stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard, because he said it in a dumb way, like, don't vote for these people because there'll be more jobs and there'll be higher wages. So I ended up taking him on that, because I am a labor economics geek. And David Card had just won the Nobel Peace Prize for labor economics on minimum wage standards and creating co-op equitable. Anyway, it was a whole thing. So I took him on, and then I made the joke. Somebody was like, oh, this sounds like a really good beer name. And I was like, oh, maybe this is the chance I get to make my cream ale white and bland, smell slightly vegetal. And that was
Name it that. Why not?
I'm just gonna call it Daddy Orphan Wells. Cream ale, white, bland, and smells slightly vegetal. My jokes are so ridiculously expensive. It's dumb.
You know what? It's worth it though if you can execute on that. It'll sell them. That's all that matters. Is can you recoup? Just make that money back and you're good to go. Anything else is a bonus. That's fucking hilarious.
When you put your first beer out and it makes fun of Trump, I mean, I think you're setting a certain bar, right?
So you got to keep doing it. You kind of like shot yourself in the foot there, man. That's fucking amazing. I love it. That's great. Now I want to try a cream ale and see how bad they are. It's been a while. Who the fuck drinks cream ales anyway?
There's the brewery that I brew at, Toolshed. One of their most popular beer is Toolshed. Is People Skills, which is a cream ale. People really like them, so good luck.
I guess as a demo,
my share.
You know what? If they'll buy your XhAle cream ale, let's fucking go. Maybe there's a bonus beer. Yeah, it's going to be a bonus beer 2022. Wait for it.
Maybe if he pisses me off enough. Somebody pissed me off enough on a beer forum that I made a toque that says snowflake. So that was that's my joke. Somebody called me. So I brought up a topic that there was a brewery in Alberta using they'd use sexual images of women on their labeling over the course of years. And I'd kind of brought it up in a topic of conversation, and somebody wrote underneath, are we here to be liberal whiners or drink beer? And so I wrote a whole thing on, when you've been sexualized your whole life and you actually have something to say and give and have knowledge and have worked really hard for it. You really don't want images of yourself on beer, that is being ogled at because people don't take you seriously. Anyway, so to that, made a toque that says snowflake across it, and put that out. And my friend had a really funny thing to say because I put it up in this thing and I was like, here's my response to being called a liberal whiner. And to keep doing the work that needs to be done. And if you get called a snowflake, well, winter's fucking coming, so rug up. And I gave everybody a discount code to go out and buy themselves a snowflake. And my friend was like, congratulations to the points that she makes about doing the work is extremely relevant, unless your goal was to make Christina mad enough to give you a discount code, then congratulations, well played.
Did you send him directly a discount code though?
Oh, I don't know who it was. I don't think they're in the beer group anymore. So let's just put it that way.
Maybe they copped one. Just to be ironic and own the libs. Oh God, I love it. You're a smart ass. It's perfect. Keep trolling these motherfuckers, man. That's amazing. It's so good. Was there anything else we want to touch on, or we feel we're coming up on 2 hours? I feel like we got through the most of it, but was there anything else we maybe missed? We feel.
I think the each and every is the other thing that I wanted to bring up, which is where the 100% of the Balls, Boobs, and Beer calendar, which I will send you.
Yes.
So that is the calendar that started last year, and it is a nudie calendar with and it's cheeky,
like sort of nudie,
super fun. It's sort of it's not.
I wouldn't be embarrassed if my mum. So it's in my kitchen. This year's one right now. If anyone came and saw it, I'm not ashamed because it's implied. You're not seeing
sexual
balls. No, you're not seeing areolas because they're cancelled, obviously, and you're not seeing.
Oh well, actually, in this one.
Well, there's a bit of areola action. Oh, I'm going to keep grandma away from it.
Because you know what? Because free the nipple. Once again, we talked about it at the start. What's the difference between a female and a male's nipple? It's only that we're in a patriarchal world that deems my nipple as sexual. So why don't we destigmatize it? I take the power back.
What up?
And you can't sexualize me. But if you want, that's fucking on you.
I respect it. I love it. So there's a bit of areola in this one, but there's no balls.
There is. Actually, on the back cover, there's a tiny little shadow of a ball sack. which is my friend. That is something in every issue now, because by accident last year, my friend Kevin, we didn't quite catch the accidental like little ball sack from behind.
So it's like a little bit
so
of...
now it's like a Where's Wally of ball sack in the calendar.
Just gonna find the sack.
Where did it slip?
Is that the episode name? Where's Wally of ball sacks?
Maybe.
I don't know if we'll get taken down for that, but you know what? It might be right.
So the calendar is all around destigmatization and taking your power back and having fun and realizing that we're all humans and we all have skin. 100% of the proceeds are donated, and we're working. So I sit on the board of Each and Every. So we are a coalition of businesses and run nationally now. We have just over 180 businesses, I believe it is, across the country. And we are advocates in the harm reduction space, trying to fight our opioid crisis currently. We're advocating for individuals and breweries specifically and venues to always carry naloxone, have naloxone training. In Alberta, we've had three... Excuse me, I'm getting gassy. We've had 3 safe consumption sites close, and it's all due to political ideology. I lost a very dear friend in 2019 to an accidental overdose, and we're seeing an increase in toxic supply here. So we're seeing toxic poisonings happen. They're not actually overdoses. They're 2 different things. And unfortunately, the people that are dying are the people who look like you. They are men between ages 35 to 50 in their own homes alone.
Jesus.
Yeah, because we often think that the people who are dying are our houseless population. And yes, that is part of the problem. I mean, the safe consumption sites are the safe, warm places for those people to go, but it's also the safe, warm places with other people. So then people don't have to use alone in their own home. And to date, globally, there has not been one person that has died in a safe consumption site. And also safe consumption sites offer opportunity for access to services and low barrier access to services that can help people. And something that we've done here in our modern day society is we've criminalized trauma. Because most people who are using have often got traumatic backgrounds. And, I have had my own substance issues, not that I delved into opioids, but my own substance issues were because of who I am and because of my privilege are almost glorified. But I had infrastructure to be able to get me to where I needed to go without the shame. And I had less barriers that helped me with my mental health and with my trauma. And that's what we need to do. So, as beer producers and people within the industry, we produce a drug. What's the difference between, and we do it in infrastructure that is built to cushion the negative effects of the drug that we make. And we also have scaffolding that is around harm reduction and regulation of an industry. So why aren't we regulating an opioid industry that would help save lives, that would help declutter the courts, that would decriminalize trauma? So that's what we do with Each and Every. And the calendar this year, we've raised just on $3,000 for Each and Every. Through that calendar. So we only have a couple left. One's got your name on it with the plum pudding porter. So I'll make sure that I can't. I haven't been able to send anything because it's been minus 15 to 17 here. Yeah, so
it makes a difference. So I feel you.
It does. You can't do shit in that shit.
Oh, didn't we deal with this last time?
Yeah.
And there was one of the.
I sent you. Yeah, I think
one of them
like
exploded.
The peanut butter cookie. Yeah,
I was pissed. That sounded fucking great. One of the ones you did, everything was great. There was a bunch of stuff. What you guys are doing out there is fantastic. It seems like the scene is like really kind of like exploding and dominating out there. I love it.
We have to get you out here. We need to get you out here and do an Alberta fucking tour and series. Yeah, we'll keep talking about it, but let's.
I know it's now they. I don't know about over there, but they pulled everything. They're telling everyone not to travel, and they put restrictions in Quebec. They put restrictions in Ontario now. It's just like every time anything's happening, they're doing the same thing over and over. That's not generating results, and it's. I don't even know what you can and can't do anymore. It's fucking out of control. So hopefully sooner than later we can get out there because I'm keen, man. I want to see the damn mountains and switch it up. It's been a minute, but we'll hopefully if things get. I don't know how much faith I have, if I'm honest with you, with these governments here, but fingers crossed things can be a little more less volatile in the next in the coming year. Let's
Yeah, everybody go get vaccinated.
That's it.
Go and do it. Go and do it. So we can get back to life, please.
Eventually, we'll make it. We'll make it. Christina, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for hanging out. Where can everyone find XhAle online?
So www.xhalebrew.co.ca.
That's
and then
XhAle for people.
XhAle, XhAle, and then just XhAle Brew Co. For Instagram, Facebook, and the Twitters.
Fucking beautiful. Stick around. We'll wrap up. Oh, let's take the thumbnail before I do the ending part. Are you ready? Ooh, here we go. I gotta hold these cans up. It's important. Okay, here we go. Now this side. Fucking boom. All right. Come on now. Yeah, we go. Come on. There we go. All right. Ready? Stunning. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell so you know when the new drops. Follow us on social media everywhere at BAOS Podcast. Check out the long form audio. We are on all podcast platforms. Make sure you follow, subscribe, whatever it is. And we premiere everything at 8 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. We're basically going right to the end of the year. We're not going to take time off until early January. So thanks again, Christina. I appreciate you. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Get it in there.